And we are live. We're back on another
Cloudburst.
We're with Paul, my brother. So all three of us are here, and we wanted to discuss. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody! Happy Thanksgiving Day. Wanted to discuss the direction of country, I guess. Since Trump has been elected, things have really changed. I think the whole attitude has changed for many people. Some sad, some more happy. Well, I guess we're more happy, but I mean, there's a lot to consider. Trump
Megan Kelly said it has to be up high.
It has to be up high.
Well, yeah, and we were thinking. I was thinking like whether or not you have an attitude about the election now that it's gone. That's one thing. Some people, I'm not thinking about it anymore. I mean, a little bit. Noticed that a lot of people on the TV and radio are talking about, well, why did it go this way? Who voted this way? How come all the young men did and all the women?
Get about 2 weeks of that.
I think my feeling is among the people who were happy that Trump won are relieved. We're relieved that Trump won. That's it. And they just thought, good. Now we're out of this mess. Let's get on with life. It was a kind of relief,
Yeah, I think there's some ancillary trends that I don't even know how related they are.
But because they're ancillary.
Well, yeah, that's hence the ancillarity of them. But I do think I felt a shift, and it wasn't all directly related. I think there's some cultural shifts. I mean, could be related. For instance, I have this sense, I was mentioned to you, that the slovenliness, the trend of slovenliness is reversing. I feel like people are dressing better. And I don't think it's necessarily, I think it's just one of those cultural sort of ebb and flows. Although I think it was notable that politicians like to do this sort of, photo op with the blue collar thing, And Trump did the McDonald's one.
Oh, yeah.
But notice he had the little McDonald's outfit over his, French cuffs.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing when he had the
trash suit. He didn't LARP. And you'll notice he doesn't ever look sloppy. And he never, even as a LARP, he's not going to pretend. He's never in pajamas or in his little, coveralls or whatever.
And he wears a tie.
He wears a tie and he wears a nice shirt.
Most times, yeah. Pretty much every time.
Yeah. And I think...
And his kids do, too, by the way.
I think there's a slovenliness that maybe... I don't know. I mean, I was just in the airport. There's plenty of slovenliness remaining.
Let's check, and we'll check back after a while and see.
But I'm just thinking, what other trends that are sort of apolitical?
Well, I mean, there is no direct... He hasn't said anything about that. He sort of does it by, I guess you could say, through his example. However, it is interesting when you think about the people that he has around him are sort of the same thing. The people he picks. I think that's been the big news since he won the election. Is the people he's picked. He went right into picking pretty interesting people.
Well, I think the fact that he picked so many women is jaw-dropping to me. I mean, it's jaw-dropping. Not that they're not qualified, but who would have thought they would pick almost half of his picks were women? And now that may mean nothing.
Two.
No, he's
3.
Many of them.
Oh, heck.
Many of the main...
Oh, I would say of the...
Chief of Staff.
Yeah.
Maryland DeVries.
The head of education, head of intelligence,
what's the one? The Gates replacement,
and Treasury Secretary. I'm saying there's got to be 7 of them out of. They're almost
it's enough, T.
Well, if there had been 2, I would have been kind of surprised, but 6 or 7. I mean, it's a lot. I don't know what it means.
Well, I think it demonstrates that, I mean, you can only be so much of a giant misogynist and be picking women for, The accusation.
Yeah, and
I think the accusation
having
doesn't-
followed the Apprentice, he always relies more on women. Like he
Okay.
his
But now we're talking about Trump.
his
But we're talking-
daughter.
but the goal is to talk about the nation.
Okay, yeah, the nation.
What do you think will happen?
Now,
Is there a drift that way?
One of the major things that he introduced was he gave major power to Elon Musk.
Oh,
So two people, Elon Musk and
what power?
Ramaswamy.
Well, he put him on the cabinet as the Doge.
Yes.
Yeah, the Doge is an advisory committee. Now, I would love to see brother Elon at many things, but have a little more influence. I'm curious where that's going to go.
Well, now remember that not just cabinet members aren't just.
Yeah,
that's not
the
just
Doge. Let me let you know, is not a cabinet.
But
it's not a cabinet.
But here's the thing: is advisors actually have more powers. Fauci had the position of like whatever.
NIH director.
Yeah, no, he wasn't NIH. No, he never wanted to be
Center for Disease Control.
No, it was like allergies and disease.
Yeah,
it was like one of the
subset.
But his power came from
influence.
Advisor influence, and so I think Musk has been given a platform, has been given much. I think he's been given much more power.
And as we discussed,
power.
They would never have a chance to do anything. They could not, or Trump and the administration could never cut any of them were there not a general understanding and approval by the public. The whole Doge thing has to be revealing what could be done, what should be done as far as their lights go, and getting people on board. Nothing could be done. I mean, nothing. And even if it were done, it would cause such an uproar if it were not generally shown why. And so, I mean, I think it's good that that's what they do. That's what they're going to do. Look at what we're doing.
I think that exposing the sort of John Stossel writ large, exposing the perfidy and stupidity. However, one of the things about perfidy and stupidity that you may have noticed in life is it's fairly resilient.
Yeah.
And good luck cutting these things. I wish them the best. I'm hoping the best.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck.
It may be just the beginning of something.
Yeah. One of the directions that I'm a little leery of, and I'm sure you guys are too, is a further dive into technology with AI, with Elon working on the Neuralink, and that kind of thing. That is a little
but I mean, Neuralink is not front and center of this whole project.
Not yet.
But he will. But you're thinking
that's what everybody says till it becomes.
That he would suggest a replacement for some of these this expenditures in the deep swamp is AI. Why do you need all these people on their computers when AI could do it all? But it's not just that. It is the fact that he has been been given a bigger microphone, he may not have more power per se, but I mean, where does power come from other than the ability to, have the ear of
voice,
the president of the United States?
Right, maybe. Or maybe, I mean, there's two schools of thought here. One is that the people that we see and vote for and hear have power. Mm-hmm. And the other is that that's tinsel, and that the real power is what you don't see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure that they have any power or influence. Influence, yes.
Well, here's the thing, though, about Musk is that he certainly has power in the sense of maybe not for the course of the nation politically, but I mean, he's changing the dynamics of our commerce, social media, doing big things. Yeah,
and setting. There's a lot of power in just setting, suggesting new ways of looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, let's look at things this way. What about this? It takes a while for these things to sift in to the culture and people accept it. Now some things we were talking about the cell phone, how quickly that came in, and how deeply it has affected the culture.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he could introduce something like that, the electric car has not been like that. Not yet. I mean, it's not
No, self-driving
over.
and stuff.
taking over.
I
The
mean,
self-driving might.
maybe not to you guys, but
No, I mean electric car.
when I see a Tesla, what is it, the Cybertruck, several Tesla Cybertrucks driving around Morehead City, you know that something's happening.
You would know what I'm saying. You would
It
know
has
it.
had a
Okay,
cultural influence.
but you can. Okay, you predict that. I'm just saying. I'm waiting. When I see everybody wants an electric car, which I'm not. I'm afraid there's going to be kind of a retreat on that. Not a retreat so much as a plateauing, because of exploration in oil and gas is going to be cheaper, and people are going to be a little bit more happy to have a gas burning car for a while, because the car is not necessarily just because you don't burn gas. There's other things about it. So I'm waiting to see. It's not the phenomenon yet that the cell phone. I turned around.
Yeah.
I look. Everybody's got it, and I don't. But everybody I know has a cell phone.
But when I first got my cell phone, you didn't turn around and see
Well, what are we talking about, though?
Okay, is the effect? I think what is curious to me is the effect on culture. To your point about sort of that, the scary guy, guys in the background that we don't see. I do see an effect on culture from people like Elon Musk through technology and commerce.
Commerce?
Yeah, so he's changing sort of culture through what he's offering,
doing.
like Apple, like
Right.
Tim
Apple
Cook,
did,
but before
Jobs,
Jobs did. They
have influence.
a giant influence.
But I will say, you guys tend to remind me. I'm going to say remind me, not suggest, but actually, it, and I don't. That I look on things as they were, and then I dismiss changes because they were a threat. And you're saying they already are. They're coming right behind you. You don't see them because you just I tend to look on things as they were. Like, so they have the election. My guy wins, or the guy I didn't want to win did not win.
Right.
And I take a breath of fresh air and I say, good, let me go back to living. Well, not everybody has that attitude. Some people say, well, now we can get on with, this is, so when we're talking here, I always, in general, remember that I don't always see things that are happening, but I tend to see things in terms of things are going on pretty much as they were before change kind of graduate. And you may see the rapid change, like the electric vehicles. That may be some. Your grandfather, who just died last year, he is this year. He said, "I see electric vehicles are going to be the thing of the future," and I wasn't so sure, but maybe so.
Well, I mean, just 2 years ago, people were saying we'll never have self-driving, and people have self-driving today.
Yeah, who got picked up? Somebody we know got out of the
self-driving taxi.
Yeah, got a taxi to go somewhere, and from the airport, self-driving taxi picked them up and took them there. I said, "No, see, that's something. I would be so surprised if he showed up, and then suddenly you look around and say, oh, they're all that way."
Yeah, the odd thing though is that your generation that grew up sort of thinking so much about rapid technological change, right?
The Jetsons.
So everybody thinks the speaking Jetsons, right?
Yeah, but we thought it was a joke. I think I certainly did. I thought,
was this a joke? I thought it was a joke.
Well, I mean, the Jetsons, and people flying around.
As a cartoon, as a fantasy,
airborne cars and stuff like that. I actually thought more reality was
the Flintstones.
Yes, the Flintstones. I said that's more like what we really are. Let me talk about something else.
Yeah,
the cultural changes. We're talking about women. I think women participating more in positions of leadership. That's something that has overtaken us. I think that's something that I look at. See, boy, I don't particularly want that to happen so much, where women are controlling a lots of positions of leadership. And then I look around, and too late, they are governors and mayors all over.
Yeah.
And that's something that overtook me, for example. Instead of looking at it and saying, oh, that's the future thing. and the things I was talking about, there are people that I know that name their girls, men's names. And they're not to Gary and Bob yet.
Surnames that have a masculine vibe.
Well, sometimes like Jackson, Ryan, things like that. I'm not going to name these people because
they're friends of ours.
I might offend
wonderful people. I'm sure.
Family of ours, yeah.
But I think that is something I turned around and it's just taken over. I thought, oh, people don't do that. Well, there may be, I think, a shift toward women in the workforce is really because we're paying for childcare, and that becomes like a right.
But I think keep in mind that you acknowledge that you tend to be behind the, part of it just you live in rural North Carolina. I think you're catching.
What he's saying is I'm a rude.
Well, what I think is these things go in cycles.
Cultural context.
And it's possible if they go and say back and forth cycles, by the time you're seeing the cycle, it's already going the opposite direction.
Well,
I think by the time you're seeing it, I think we peaked. And I think there's this big, what I see sort of online, is this big trad cycle.
You have your own cultural context.
Yeah, I have my own. Everybody does.
Yeah.
Of course, mine is the best.
Cutting edge.
Cutting edge. But there is, a bit of, I think, a trend back towards stay-at-home mom and all that. You see quite a bit of this. Okay. And I think what you'll see it on television and stuff.
Well, I will say that Trump winning and winning through a coalition of different kinds of camps, right? Like with
a handful of ragtag rebel factions.
Yeah. One thing we haven't talked about is Robert Kennedy Jr., his...
Can we keep not talking about it?
Well...
But yeah, he's an example of...
it's true. He brought in a whole weird crew of people.
Well, weird. I'm particularly amenable to his camp. One of the guys that was just... one of the guys
many of my best friends
was just announced that the director of what would you say
CDC, who's a friend of mine's uncle. I forget his name.
But all these health positions, all these health positions are being filled by like Dr. What was his name?
Bhattacharya.
People that were anti-lockdown had much more reasonable position when it came to the
reasonable according to our laws.
Sure. But, Surgeon General is anyway.
Yeah. Okay. But so I guess what I was saying is that Trump coming in was sort of I think it was a marker in the sense that people are tired, that the pendulum has swung
all right, well, let's
too far the other way.
Let's think, are there any, we talked about women in the workforce, what do you call it, health or medical tyranny versus our, we want to have more liberty in health and pharmacy and whatever. What other trends do you see moderate where there's some moderation?
Go ahead.
No, go.
You for instance. Well, I think among those is I think there's a sort of honoring of blue collar work. You're going to see that with the combination of the tariffs and the collapse of the legitimacy of academia. I think one of the huge things that, with the takedown of the various presidents of these colleges by Rufo and stuff like that, I think one of the things the last couple of years has been the delegitimizing of academia.
Yeah, they should have to go to college to be somebody.
Well, and
the Mike Rowing of America.
Well, also the breakdown of this whole peer-reviewed, cabal.
That's right, the academia.
Yeah.
But I think the flip side of that is the sort of, and again, I think it's kind of this trad thing, the American electrician, Wichita lineman, whatever, these guys out there. And the other incentive is just cash. If you deport, a substantial number of workers. It trickles up, even though it's not like we have, linemen out there that are illegal aliens, but it trickles up.
No,
Yeah.
And so anyway, you're going to be able to make a lot of money as a blue collar worker. Already, it's the case, but also you could be some honor there.
You're going to have to honor hard work if we're getting rid of the people that do hard work for very little, or if there's going to be a diminution of, we're going to be less and less of them. They're not pouring in over the border. Let's hope. But if you do reduce the number of people that are willing to work hard with their hands, that who's going to take that? Well, American citizens that have been for a couple of generations told that, forget that, go to college. You have a right to go to college. We'll pay for you to go to college. And you see what we turn out with, a bunch of people with college degrees that can't get jobs or don't want to work. They just want to talk about things or whatever. I'm just overgeneralizing.
Sure.
But I think what you're saying is if there is a favoring, a reevaluation of hands-on work.
The trades.
And even picking cotton. Who's going to, not picking cotton, but
fruits and stuff.
Picking, yeah, that's a good question. Who's going to?
Well, the picking, I think, is a lot of that's going to be roboticized. I think much of that it's going to be robotics are just to the point now where things that were difficult, they're getting down. So a lot of that's going to be roboticized. There's be increase in the trades. I'd like to see personally some kind of idea of the thoughtful tradesman, this idea of, the American, the sort of Jeffersonian idea of the yeoman thinker,
Well, you got Spinoza, who was grinding lenses and writing philosophy. And you got, what's that guy, William Carey, the great missionary. He was a cobbler. I think
those are the guys
come to mind. That the honoring, and speaking of cobblers, I mean, there are hardly any cobblers. I've got to go an hour. I have to drive an hour to get my boots repaired, or send them away to Minneapolis. And
we lost our cobbler.
And cobblers.
Well, shoes have
Mr. Matthews.
Well, and shoes have changed. I mean, tremendously. People rarely wear leather shoes anymore.
Well, I think you're going to be seeing a change in that.
Maybe.
Well, maybe the problem is, they're just so cheap. I bought a pair of Florsheims, decent, nice Florsheims, $100, brand new pair.
Is that high or low?
That seemed cheap to me.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, $100 is about.
I get my shoes at Walmart for $10. So.
Yeah. But if we're talking about dress shoes, very comfortable, very classy. I remember I got a Florsheims when we were in the money back when you were born. I got a pair of Florsheims, and the principal of the school I was in, he looked at me and says, "Those are nice shoes."
Well, the last thing I'd like to talk about is what are we missing? Is it possible? This is what I was thinking about. Is it possible that Trump was just incredibly lucky the first time, and many of the things, it was right time, right place for many of the things that created such a good economy, and that actually we're headed for some kind of terrible
recession?
Well, maybe even
World War III.
Inflation. What is it called? The inflation and recession? Stagflation. Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, nobody really knows.
Right.
We could guess.
How much control does he have over?
Well, I think a couple of things. One, there are some real changes that can be made, deregulation and stuff. Maybe it's bad for the environment or different, depends on what it is, but that can help with the general wealth of the country.
Grease the skids.
Grease the skids. I do have a sense that optimism and stuff is up, but it's tough. I mean, some of these things are, long reaching. The whole inflation thing is going to be a little bit harder to reel back in.
Yes.
And, we talk about tariffs and deportations. That
doesn't help inflation.
That ain't going to help.
Well, who is going? How are we going to change the attitude toward money? I just enunciated that a while ago to you. I was saying, people just. My friend Alfred Chestnut just went to play in in New York City, and he said he was way up in the balcony. Seats were $200, and I thought, mercy. It reminded me of what I read in the paper. Taylor Swift. You want to go to a concert? I don't even think they have seats. They just have a ticket to get in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, $1,000 a ticket. Well, now if this is the way we treat money,
but
the attitude, it's the attitude.
Well, I would be leery of saying the thing is attitude. Attitude is only so much. If you don't have $1,000, it doesn't really matter what your attitude
you charge it. What I'm saying, the attitude
That's
is
true.
We have plenty of money.
I think what Dad's saying is a disconnect between value and available funds, liquidity.
We're not afraid. I mean, there's very little fear of people. I'm going to get foreclosed on. I'm going to.
This
go
did
bankrupt.
come out.
The very fear of that.
There was. I mean, I get what you're saying. Reality wins at the end of the day. Like if you don't have $1,000, then you don't go to a concert with $1,000 tickets. So reality wins out the day. However, there are some major attitude shifts. I don't know if you saw the poll recently that came out like this week. The question was, what annual income counts as financially successful? And like boomers, like $80,000 a year. Gen X, like $100,000 a year. Millennials, like $150,000 a year. And then Generation Z was $500,000 a year. It wasn't even. It's 5 times as much.
Amazing.
Well, but what about this idea of people just overusing credit and defaulting?
That's old. But I mean, that has its limits. Wait,
well, does it? $36 trillion we're in debt as a country.
No, the country. But I'm talking about personal credit card.
Well, that's big.
I don't see that expanding.
Well, one of the
kind of a constant
under Trump, I see less expanding. I don't think he's going to be, forgiving loans, credit.
Yes. Okay. There we go.
Stuff like that.
Okay. There we go. What is going to kind of change attitude? If you think loans are going to be forgiven,
right?
They're going to hand out money because we're having a little recession. We're going to hand out some more money, or have COVID,
or we're going to attack the lenders instead of attacking the
delinquent borrowers.
Yeah, right. But so it is a shift in which
personal responsibility.
Yeah.
That's probably good.
Take care of your money.
That's right.
I need that more than anyone here. Yeah.
Well, so what?
So I think some positive shifts: responsibility, shape up, dress right, make your bed.
Man, you're turning into a Jordan Peterson over here.
No, I'm just glad he's out there.
And Jordan Peterson. I mean, look at let's just one more thing before we sign off.
Yeah.
What do you think about trends on the internet? I mean, even I, who did not get on internet very often until this year, until the last 6 months, was just some things that shocked me. How many conservative black guys are running these
YouTube
podcasts or YouTube channels?
Yeah.
I mean, most of them, are conservative black guys. And I go, wow. I don't know what else there is. There was something else on YouTube. You see things. Oh, I didn't realize things were that like that. I don't know. What do you see as far as communications, especially public? What do you call it? Social media. What do you see as trends as far as what?
Well, what I see is the trend of online communities or whatever pushing towards IRL in real life. I think the online thing kind of peaked in COVID, and now people are hungry for real connections. That's why concerts tickets have gone up and stuff, because post-COVID there was a pent-up demand, and now people want to do in-person stuff
together.
And so there's going to be a lot more of angling from the online to real life.
I think that would be led by Gen Xers, in particular, Gen Xers, Gen Zers. But the new millennials, though, there's something broken. Like they haven't learned how to be in person.
Well, now what would you? What about? Are you talking about maybe churches, associations, clubs, sports? What do what that kind of? what things are you talking about? But working in the office.
Do you know that like one of the major shifts for the newest generation is that they don't want to learn how to drive. They don't care about driving. They don't have anywhere to go. They sit in front of their screens. You know.
You think that's going to maintain? That's going to continue?
Oh yeah, I don't think that gets better because they don't. Who's teaching them? You know. How are they learning?
Right.
There's no way to learn in person. You know, when you're addicted to this, just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it gets so bad that, you know.
Well, there's some pressure from CEOs getting people back in the office.
Yeah.
But I mean, but if it's a cultural wave, if there's a cultural wave, which we predicted way back when in the 50s, you know, people would have great big heads, you know, with brains and no hair, and sitting around at home, you know, being taken care of by
it's the WALL-E
robots,
version of the future. Yeah, there's fat people just kind of sipping on
big
gulps.
Let's hope that's not coming about. The people you're saying that people aren't getting out more; they're going to gyms, for example.
I was saying that. I think IRL stuff is on the rise.
It might be. It's just it's led by an older generation. The newer generation is
still at home.
I mean, they're
insular.
They're doing all their, you know, with a Peloton, it's basically a virtual gym. You know, you're running with somebody else right in the screen.
And your society is either on the tube or on your flipping phone.
It's mostly on your phone. Yeah.
So I mean, that's your society. That's your club. That's your church. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed about how many people don't go to church. They just listen to a favorite pastor, a good pastor, and they say, well, we just listened to Jimmy on TV or whatever.
Now, that may be good for the communities. I think the people that are hungry for the IRL thing, I hope it's not huge, you know, giant groups of, you know, the mob. I hope it is the concentrated you know, local communities that take it seriously, you know, and don't just, you know, throw what are these major like you know, Burning Man, you know, IRL things.
Well, there is that. I mean, whenever we like the locals, we hardly ever go to the seafood festival because there's just so many people. You know, anything that you have a reason, get out of the house to go to something social. You know. And I would think it would be more healthier if it was smaller groups, church, societies, clubs, politics, you know,
intentional
political
parties, and like the Wagon Box.
Yeah,
we're hoping the Wagon Box would be a place for that.
Yeah. No, that's something else. I just thought. I think there's going to be more of that. I think you're going to see a counter swing. People getting out of their houses, getting outside, meeting their neighbors, getting to work.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Online.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I hope you guys have people over, community, and make connections.
And this is the last you'll talk about politics, right? So,
well, Chris says hi, Big Chris.
Big Chris.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you next time.